What's up, everyone? I thought I'd share my workflow with you because my workflow is probably a bit different to most people, but very, very similar to a lot of other sports photographers out there. I was given a talk recently to a bunch of, well, 100, I say a bunch, that's a big old bunch, 100 budding creatives and photographers and artists and stuff. And I was explaining about the fact that my turnover for images is really, really quick, so I don't like hanging on to images very long. People like to see them back out into the world really, really quickly. If I shoot a race in an afternoon, people ideally are wanting those images on their Facebook timelines or on Twitter or on Instagram for them to see in a few hours after the race. So my turnover's got to be really, really quick. And I learned a lot of the tips that I'm going to kind of run through and the things you might see, because I'm going to screencast it in a sec for you, from photographers like Jeff Cable, who shoots for the US Olympic team, and his image turnover is something like 15 minutes after an ice hockey game at the Olympics. He needs to have sorted his images, culled them, edited them down, sent them off via FTP within something like 15 minutes. It's mad. I don't need to work that quickly, but this is what I do and this is how I do it. So, what I do when I have taken all the images off of a memory card or memory cards and placed them onto either a hard drive or my laptop, I'll then open them up in this, which is XMView MP. And what XMView MP does is it's a cull and selection program. It's really, really cool, really, really handy. And it allows me to go through images really quickly, select out the ones I want, ignore the ones I don't want, and then I can carry on, get them into Lightroom and get away. And the difference between this and dumping everything into Lightroom is Lightroom will try to process every single image first before it allows you to cull through. So the cull and selecting images through Lightroom can be really, really, really slow. So what this does is this stops that happening and allows you to get really, really quick, get the selections you want, get them into Lightroom and get working on the important ones. So what we've got is you double click onto the first image in the mix, and then you just go through. And the way I do it is I'll go through and toggle with the left and right arrow keys. And when I get to an image that I like, that I think, yeah, that works, that's got something a bit special about it, is I will rate it. You rate things by hitting Control and then a number key, 1 to 5. What I do is I rate everything as a 5, because usually I'm just looking for the absolute best images out of that selection. So I'll rate everything as a 5. It's just a habit I've got into. Doesn't necessarily mean to be the way that you do it. What you can do is you can rate things. Sometimes I'll do a shoot and the client will want back 100 images, but I'll want to hand off 20 really, really good ones first of all as a bit of a teaser, or those are the 20 images that I want to display out of my portfolio or whatever. So I'll mark everything as a 4, and the ones I really, really like, the really standout images, will go through as a 5. But really you can do this however you want. So I'll go through and I'll mark things that I like as a 5, toggling through each time until I get to images that I like. Stop, Control, and then whatever number you want, and go from there. And as you can see, this is where I show you loads of images that are rubbish, because actually in reality most photographers don't take perfect images every time they take an image. You get lots of stuff like that. So go through, mark the ones that I want, mark the ones that I don't want. Just doing some examples really here, guys, for you, just so that you can kind of get a bit of a flavour. Once I've gone through all the images, marked off what I want, selected what I want, close that tab down, come back into the main area, into the main browser, and I will use the filter by option. So filter down on anything that's 5 only. In this instance, it's 4 images. Select them, so Control A and select. And then all I do is I grab them, drag them down into Lightroom, drop them into the library module, and away we go, and we start working through stuff. Lightroom then picks them all up. What happens is Lightroom picks up the fact that there are multiple images in that folder, but only ticks the ones to import that you've selected with your star ratings in the previous program. You can then get it to do all sorts of stuff with file handling and bits and pieces. What I make sure I do is I'm always importing on one of my presets. It's usually a color preset I'll import into. Once you've got stuff set up as you want to do it, press import, away we go, images come into Lightroom. Now what I then do, the first thing I then do, because this program doesn't keep your rating system, I go Control A to select all the images, hit number 5 in Lightroom, that sets the rating to 5, which means then when I'm in the develop module and I'm working through stuff, I can then come down to the bottom select filter by rating. That then means anything with a rating of 1 or above will be included in this timeline down here into what I'm working on. If it gets deselected or is rated as a 0, which is how I deselect images, it will then not appear in there in the first place. So it's a really good way for me to be able to, if I've got 4 or 5 images that are really, really good and I want to see them in Lightroom with the preset on them, with that start value set on them, it allows me just to kind of figure out which ones I want. I can then dump out and leave the one that I do want in that selection. So my preset loads in. I bump the shadows, always bump the clarity, always bump a little bit of vibrancy as well. Nudge on the tonal curve just because that's what works for me. Bit of sharpening, bit of noise reduction, and enable profile corrections for lens corrections and stuff. You can get this preset from my blog, link below, and then I'll start working. So it's quite a cold image, that image, and I usually shoot in auto white balance because I don't like dialing it in. So I'll probably start on this, for example, is just warm it up with a little bit of yellow. It's probably a bit too yellow for my liking. It's probably worth looking at black and white, at which point I tend to bring that clarity right up. And black and whites for me get really punchy as a result, and then they get a really hard vignette as well, because I'm trying to remove this distraction. And then I go through and I do that for every single image, just toggling through, make the edits that I want to edit, make the changes that I want to change, moving on to the next one. And when I've got those images that I'm happy with and that I like, see what that does, that's a better colour. When I've got everything that I want and I've got everything that I like, I hit Control A on the timeline at the bottom, which selects them all. Click export, click export again, and go from there. I dump everything into Google Drive. What that means is I can leave my laptop, I can just let it sync through to my phone. I haven't then got to sit in front of my laptop for the rest of the evening or the rest of the day or the rest of the afternoon, whenever it might be, waiting for those images to export and just watching the slider go across. I can go off and I can carry on with my day and do whatever I need to do, and then everything's on my phone, and then I can then send the link away to that folder, that secure folder, to the client or whoever I'm working for. Name the folder, name the images. That's tend to how I want to do it. I'll give it a custom name and then a sequence number and let Lightroom figure that out. Images go through at 85% quality on a JPEG. Everything gets resized to fit on the long edge by 20 to 48. Now, the reason that I do this is from a lot of research and study. When Facebook takes an image, if it's not on a correct proportion or as a correct image size, it will compress it. It's usually why most people put images into Facebook and they don't look great as a result. They look great beforehand, they look rubbish as soon as you put them into Facebook. What I do by putting the longest edge at 2048, that totally figures it out, stops Facebook ruining that image, and just allows it to look as crisp and as sharp as you did when you saved it. So that's why I do that. And then sharpen for screen, because most of my stuff happens on screen unless it's a print, which is very rare for me these days. And then watermark it as and when I need. Click export. It starts exporting it. Yeah, because I've done it before. And away we go. It will dump into Google Chrome, into Google Drive, sorry, and away we go. I can then send the links off. And that's my workflow, and that's how I did it. And that's how I work on a daily basis when I'm working on shoots. It is a bit different, and that's absolutely fine. Not a lot of people will need the speed and efficiency that I might need to be able to turn images around really, really quickly, and that's totally cool. What you have to do is find what works for you. That process, that workflow has been gleaned from 5-6 years worth of looking how other photographers do it and figuring out what might work best for me and trial and error. It's exactly the same. If you prefer to manipulate and really take your time and craft an image in Photoshop, do it if that's what works. If you want a speedy transition to go all the way from as soon as you dump from your camera down onto your computer all the way through to when you export, and you need that to be quick and efficient, this is the best way that I found to do it. Try it out, give it a go. I've got a stack load more stuff to do today, so I'm going to leave you guys to have a really, really great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.